Bentley, you ready?
The Bentley.
He's rocking and rolling.
Bentley's chilling.
All right. Well, this is SANDCAST December edition here with our guy Mike Dodd. He's rocking the December flannel. How are things? It's been a while since I've seen you. Every now and then, on the commentary at P1440 stuff, but
things are great. Just chugging along, helping my wife with her volleyball club at NBCN and do a little bit of real estate here and there. Play as much volleyball and surf as much as I can.
Not a bad way to be.
Our youngest daughter had a little baby a year and a month ago, so I'm grandpa now.
You were that new into the grandpa life.
Yeah, and she's living with us, so she works at Starbucks, and Patty and I get to help with the baby in the mornings, and it's really been fun.
Awesome.
Really.
Just a new phase of life.
As good as anything is
Yeah.
this little dusty girl.
That's great. Different holidays are a little bit different with little baby running around.
Sure.
I'm sure you and Track
Absolutely.
kind of empathize with each other on that one.
I'm an old veteran, but no, it's really cool. They just like little puppies or little kids. You know, they bring life into your house, and you once they're there, you kind of can't imagine what life was like before they were there, because it's so different and so crazy and so difficult at times, but you wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a fun part of life right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. And a lot of big changes, huh? This guy's got engaged the other day.
Got engaged.
I had a
Just found a
baby.
wedding venue.
Jumping right in.
Yeah.
Just all in new
You have a date
territory
set?
right now.
Got a date set. We're gonna go for February 8th. So we're going before. So Delaney, she's a coach at Pepperdine, and so we're going before her season starts. Because once she starts coaching, then we really don't have like a free weekend or 2 weekends in a row till like next November. So,
Awesome. Delaney Knudsen?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we're
Awesome.
stoked. It's been a fun, crazy couple weeks.
Yeah, I'll bet.
But yeah, what does this time of year look like for you right now? I know you mentioned that it's just kind of volleyball, helping out with Patty and surfing. I don't know if it ever gets like kind of slow or how it compares to other times around the year.
Yeah, it's slow. I used to do a lot of work for indoor volleyball with the women, Pac-12 Network, ESPN, whoever, and I don't know if I'm just kind of getting dated out or gendered out or whatever, but I'm doing much less of that, so it's kind of disappointing in a way, because you see a lot of matches and you just wonder, what are these commentators thinking about? Where did they come from? How do they get these jobs? And why am I not out there doing it? But it's life, and things happen for a reason. And like we were talking about, little baby Dusty's there, and I help a lot with her, taking care of her. So it's an easy trade.
Yeah. When did you first start getting into the commentary side of the game?
In 1997, when I stopped playing beach volleyball, I got into it big time, and I was really just had good timing, because it was when NBC was still involved, and so I was doing a lot of beach volleyball. I worked with NBC, so I got to work 2 Olympics in Sydney and Athens. Sydney, I did beach volleyball at Bondi when Fennoy won.
Okay.
And in Athens, I worked indoors. So it was both Olympics were great experiences. And then after that, I started coaching. Okay. So I kind of, just wasn't able to continue to do those gigs, which were great.
Yeah, you were at every beach Olympics. So I mean, you
but with a different job in each one.
Yeah. Competed in '96, commentated beach in 2000, indoor in 2004, and then you were coaching Rosie and Jake in 08.
08 and 12.
And 12.
Yeah.
And then did you go to 2016?
I was slated. I was coaching Rosie and Phil, and we were number one in the world, and things were going pretty well until Phil strained his stomach muscle, and Sean decided not to train while Phil was getting himself back in shape, and then they got back together and didn't play very well, and Phil made 2-year into the 4-year commitment switch to Lucena, and they picked a different coach, and I decided that's enough coaching for me. 10 years was enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's we've had Jose Loyola, who coaches Tri, and Trevor on, and he said that his first couple years as a coach were kind of tough. He's like, you have to kill the player to really maximize your talents as a coach. Did you have any struggle with that, the transition from playing to coaching, or was the transition far?
No,
out?
I think mine was a little further out than Jose's. I had been doing broadcasting and owned a restaurant and raising kids, and I was doing a lot of other stuff before I started coaching Jake and Sean. So it was pretty easy to. The player was dead.
Yeah.
What about
but the player's back now. That's the funny part. Because interestingly enough, as soon as kind of the disappointment wore off of the deal with Phil and Sean, I started, my friend Tim Hovland was in a 4-man game at 33rd Street in Hermosa on the weekends. And I started playing, and now I think I had forgotten how much I just loved playing volleyball. Mm-hmm. And now I can't get enough of it. I play. Anytime Chase loves to play 4-man, and a bunch of the guys play, and they're nice enough to let me play with them. And I've got my old man game on the weekends where the play is not so scintillating, but the dialogue is still outstanding.
Oh, of course.
And it's just been really fun to get back into just being a volleyball goof.
Yeah. It's funny that the dialogue hasn't died yet.
No, dialogue. I don't think it's beyond riding a bike. I think it's just get us on the court, and the chirping starts immediately.
When I ran into at the CBVA Hall of Fame ceremony where Todd Rogers and Jen Kessie got inducted, I ran into Hav, and I was just sitting there with Hovland and Jim Menges and Kevin Cleary and Gary Hooper. Uh-huh. And it was just like every other word was just a jab at someone in the group. And I didn't even say a word. It was the most entertaining conversation I've ever listened to.
Yeah, you get a history course crammed into any time you get Obradovich, Mingus, Hovland especially, any of those guys, you get them all together, and it's a blast. And 99% of the time, Smith and Stokey are the brunt of the jokes. They seem to be the targets. But that's probably what comes with being the best team of their era. So kudos to them.
I was going to wonder, when did that start? I mean, was it just as soon as Sinjin and Randy started winning as much as they did? Did everyone just kind of start going after them? Was it a little bit?
No. It's a combination of everything. I mean, they were the best. They were great. They were also very arrogant and cocky, and there were some conflicts at the time, with Sinjin being the president and his agent Leonard Armato being the chief executive of the AVP, and so there was, and Sinjin was brazen about it. Like, I'm the best. I deserve all the deals that come through the AVP. Deal with it.
Right.
And it created animosity, and for us, there was much less animosity than would appear on the surface, because we did love to jab each other and jibe each other and, call them the kings of, Boston and all the away tournaments, and we won all the South Bay tournaments, and there was always, but there was a lot of mutual respect as well, because, they were just crazy great players.
Yeah. You and Hav were the big game hunters, right?
That was our end of the jab, I guess. But yeah, we definitely weren't as polished as they were. They had the fundamentals were better than ours, I think, but we were athletic and fiery, and when we were really laser focused, we were a pretty good team.
Yeah. And so you and Hav, you played on the same indoor team in Italy or different?
No, we played in different teams. Okay. We met on the national team. I played hoops in college, so I was kind of out of the volleyball scene, even though I was a good high school, AAA and all that, yada yada yada. But I was away from the game, and then kind of rejoined these guys. I got drafted by the Clippers and got cut. And it was right when they came out with that rule that you could play a fifth year in a different sport. Mm-hmm. And I got, the day after I got cut, Rudy Sawara called and said, hey, you want to play volleyball? I said, yeah, I mean, I needed some more units to graduate and all of that. So I played volleyball and then got asked to join the national team. And that's where I really, met Tim and Karch and Sinjin and Timmons and, all the guys, Buck, all the guys that were part of those great teams in 84 and 88 and 92.
What a lineup, too, when you just really. When you just listen to those names, it's like the all-time greats just back to back to back to back.
It's funny hearing that you got drafted by the Clippers and looking
San
right
Diego
now
Clippers.
The Clippers are the biggest team in the world right now.
Yeah.
And
they're
such a big money thing.
And they were just the little peon franchise, not knowing whether they were going to be in San Diego
forever,
or
right?
But the year I got drafted was a big year for them because they got Bill Walton from Portland, and he was the big deal. He was from San Diego, so that was a big deal. And circle of life continues. I'm really good friends with Luke now. We play a lot of 4-man, and
so you would have played with his dad.
Yeah, I would have played with his dad.
Wow, that's crazy.
So that would have been fun because I sure admired his game. When he was at UCLA and really in his prime, he did a lot of stuff better than maybe any centers.
Taking you to get on the mic with is Bill Walton.
Oh yeah, he's well. I got a funny story for segue for that. At Bondi, Bill was our man on the sand. He was our
That's right.
Our guy.
Him and Shaq called a game together on the AVP.
In the Olympics.
Well, this was at the Olympics.
Yeah. Okay.
This was at Bondi. So Jim Watson was our color, our play-by-play. I was the color, and Walton was our man on the sand. So he is an amazing. I mean, I love him, but man, I bet he drives other people nuts because he's beyond type A.
It's funny when I watch a Pac-12 game that Bill Walton is commentating on. I just listen for it. I'm not really watching the game. I'm just listening to the Bill Walton show. It's so
and
funny.
he gets a bad rap because people think he's just rambling on like a crazy person,
right?
Which he does, which he has done for sure. But I mean, when we were in Australia, he was studying. He learned the players. He'd not only know the players, he would study things about Sydney, local places, indigenous rodents, Jim Watson, he's a great play-by-play, a really good friend of mine, and we worked both Olympics together. And he's kind of at that time, he was a young, brash, TV personality, thought he was kind of a player with the girls and all of that. Yeah. And I'll never forget one of our little segments, we would go down to Bill and he goes, well, Jimmy, I just want to give you a little lesson about the indigenous species here called the bandicoot. It's got beady eyes, a long nose, and a propensity to procreate. A lot like our own Jim Watson. Back to you. So, he was great. He was really good. And I love Bill. I'm a big fan.
That's awesome.
But he does his homework, guys.
Yeah.
You don't get to that level without doing your homework.
Yeah, and he's super sharp too.
Yeah.
I feel like the more you do your homework, the more you're able to just be free and loose and authentic,
Absolutely.
And let all the other stuff come naturally when you've already. I mean, it's just like playing, right?
Absolutely.
The more you prepare.
The part I loved the best about broadcasting was that it had the exact same rhythm as sports, in that you get an assignment. Okay, Washington State versus Oregon. Who the heck is the coach of this? Who are the players?
Right, yeah.
So you start studying. Then you write everything out and you make your boards and you're prepared and you have conversations with the coaches over the phone. You rap with them at the passing session before. What's happening? And then boom, the whistle blows, just like sport. The whistle and all your prepping is now coming out.
Right.
How hard did you prep? How hard did you work? How hard did you train? Either as an athlete or a broadcaster. And then you just go and boom, that red light goes out, the camera's, it's off. You go have a beer with your fellow workers, and I love the rhythm of broadcasting because it was just like sports.
Yeah. Do you have like a particularly memorable match or tournament or event that you covered that was like pretty high up there that you're like, wow, this is a pretty big deal?
Well, I for sure the biggest deal I ever did was the gold medal match with Fennoy and Blanton on NBC. That was probably the most viewed, and it was at the time it was for me, a little journeyman volleyball guy. It was a big deal. I got to do the NCAA finals last year, the men's final with Hawaii and Long Beach
awesome.
State.
Yeah, that's
cool. That's a great rivalry.
Which was really a match you couldn't draw up.
Yeah.
Probably two teams as good as the NCAA had seen in the last decade.
Yeah.
In the same year,
Yeah.
meeting in the final. It was really fun.
Yeah, and
I got to work with Paul Sunderland, and he's great. So.
Yeah. Had you seen their matches prior to the final?
Yeah.
Every one of them was just wild.
Yeah.
And I never played indoor, so I would go and I'd be like, holy cow, this is insane.
Oh.
And so that's the only really indoor that I've watched is Long Beach, Hawaii, so I'm pretty spoiled.
Yeah, for sure. It's not all that good.
Yeah.
That indoors is not great to
that
watch.
indoors is not great to play or to watch.
Yeah, it can get pretty ugly.
Do you still keep up with the indoor game, or are you mostly just?
Yeah, I try to. You never know when the phone's going to ring, so you got to be ready. So I try to. I certainly, the percentage of women's matches as compared to men's was probably 90.
Right.
5 to 5. Like every once in a while I'd get a men's match.
Yeah.
But there's just the number of women's broadcasts is so much greater, and the number of teams and conferences and everything else that it's just a numbers
What
deal.
was the men's indoor culture like? Back say when you were on the national team with Karch and Hav and Sinjin and them. Was it a little bit bigger than it is today, or has it just kind of maintained about the same?
It's it's I don't know, I can't speak to now.
Yeah.
I know then volleyball was a minor sport.
Yeah.
It was an amazing group of athletes that we had together. The USA Volleyball in their infinite genius, had their training center, I think, in Toledo, Ohio for a number of years.
It was in Ohio?
And someone had a revelation. Maybe if they trained in San Diego, we'd have some better players. And, sure enough, you're on that line, and you've got Pat Powers and Craig Buck and Dusty Dvorak and Sinjin and Hovland and Karch and we were young. We were young and cocky, and Doug Beale hated us. He hated the beach guys, the guys that played both, especially. Like me, Hav, Sinjin, Karch. We were all in his crosshairs.
Yeah.
But man, did we train? We trained. We'd get at 8 o'clock to noon. We played 4 hours. We'd train volleyball. Then after that, we do an hour of jump training. And those boxes
What's
and those
jump training, like at the gym?
Yeah,
or?
jump training at the gym.
It, yeah. Box
They would
jumps.
they would get these boards that they'd cover with carpet, and you'd have to run them along the ground as fast as you go, side to side, back and forth.
Right.
And we had boxes, and we just had these circuit of different height boxes that you'd have to go to. And I just would never forget the legs of Karch and Hovland, because for them it was a walk in the park. I mean, I was just killing myself to get up to some of these boxes.
Yeah.
And they were just bing. It's like they would barely hit the ground, and they'd be back up, and they just had these. I mean, Hovland was an incredible athlete.
Yeah.
and obviously Karch was as well. But those two, they just seemed to just cruise through the jump training.
And you guys would always train together?
Yeah.
For those?
Yeah, we were all
Even though
we were all in the gym.
Kind of like arch rivals?
No, but we were on the national team. This is for indoor volleyball.
Got it. Right.
Yeah. But then,
Yeah, how did that transition?
Oddly enough, 4 hours and an hour of jump training wasn't enough, because then we'd head straight to South Mission Beach, buy, a sandwich and a couple Mickey's Big Mouth beers and play volleyball all afternoon. And then we'd go out and go to, the bars or wherever and wreak havoc till whenever. And then we'd be up at 8 playing again. But you're 21, 22, he's...
Yeah.
You could be blowing a 2.7 and you bounce the first ball in warm-ups. I mean, it was just the way it was. But boy, were we in shape.
Oh, I bet.
We were there. So that kind of evolved into really, for me, it was, everybody was gearing and shooting for 84 for the Olympics in LA. And so we were there like in 82 and 81. And I had played like a couple of matches in the IVA, which was a pro league that had existed for a while and existed, right when I got out of college. And so my eligibility was in question. So at a certain point, it really just didn't look like it was going to ever get resolved. So I left the team and started playing in Italy. I had an opportunity to go play indoors in Italy. And then what was really a shame was Hovland and Smith were really two of the best players of the group. Hovland was a middle, as good as anybody. And but boy, Doug Beale could never really wrap his head.
He butted heads with a lot of people, I feel like, because I played with Hayden for a while. I didn't have much good things to say
about Doug.
Yeah, time there,
when you're older and you can look at the situation, Doug probably, it's a luxury that most coaches would like to have that much talent.
Yeah.
But when you've got that many personalities and egos, I think he was like, how am I going to be able to? And he's like, I got to have Karch,
Right.
And even though Karch was as much a beach guy as all of us, he was, less of a headache. Smith would just take off for modeling assignments, and Hovland would show up at, 8:15, just a mess, from the night before, and I think at a certain point, Doug had to just say, these guys are so talented, but if I'm gonna mold these guys into what I want, I've got to lose a Sinjin Smith and keep an Aldous Bursons, who's not as good as Sinjin. To this day, I would take Sinjin's passing over Aldous Bursons, and Aldous is one of the best passers in the world.
Yeah.
But Aldous was a just straight-laced, hardworking Ohio State kid, and he was a great player on our national team and did a great job. But I think it was just one of those things where Doug had to trim the personalities, because I don't think he could have managed all of us.
Right. That makes sense.
I'll never forget the first road trip we went on. We took a flight to Japan, and we're on this flight, and there's this older gentleman that's kind of sitting around us, and we had struck up a conversation with some of the flight attendants, and before we knew it, they had invited us. It was a 747. They'd invited us on the elevator to go down to the workers' quarters, and we were having cocktails, and somehow this old guy got with us, and we were partying on this plane on our first national team trip.
Like, this is
and the coaches are we don't know where they are, but we're not really that concerned with it, And the old guy that was kind of hanging out with us ended up being one of the executives from USA Volleyball.
Oh, no way.
And we proceed to we land in Tokyo, and we're all just kind of hung over or whatever, and we've got our sunglasses on, and Beale's just out of his mind. You could just look at the steam coming off his skin, and so we get to our hotel, and we said, well, let's just go walk around for a little bit. And all of a sudden, we see this vending machine with kegs of beer. Vending machine. So we end up buying all these kegs. Had this incredible, goofy guy party in Powers' room, I think. But it's me, Smith, Hov, Karch, Timmons, Powers, and we're making noise. And
were there any guys on the team that didn't party that were more?
Yeah. We had Paul Sunderland and Mark Duraldi and Aldous Persons and Rich Durilius, and they're all with their ties and then kind of right there with their
playbooks.
So we're drinking and we're throwing these kegs out the window, and it's late. I don't know what time it is. It's midnight, 1, whatever it is. And we hear a knock on the door. It's like, oh, what are you guys? It's Doug Beale. And I'm thinking, when I think back to it now, I'm thinking, Doug Beale has the future of the men's national, the hopes and dreams of a medal in this room.
Right.
If he walks in, he's got to do something. So we're like, yeah, Doug. He goes, keep it down. He doesn't walk in. He
doesn't want to see it.
So the funny part is we wake up the next morning, our first day in Japan, and we have a team breakfast in the meeting down on the mezzanine, like the second floor, and we look. We're in the buffet line, and it's right by this gigantic picture window with this big awning, and we look out, and there's 20 kegs that had landed in this awning, that are there, and we're like, oh God, and at this breakfast we received our national team notebooks, the do's and don'ts and what's expected of you, and we had literally shattered every rule. Right. Any kind of rule that could get you immediately kicked off. We had done in the first 48 hours on our trip. So, I understand how it worked out. And it was a bummer for Tim because he deserved to be an Olympian. Uh-huh. He was, one of our very best. And Sinjin as well. Sinjin got his little slice in Atlanta.
Yeah.
But when you get older and you realize, all of it, you get a little less incensed and a little more accepting of Doug's position,
right.
And he certainly was a great coach. Mm-hmm. He had a guy named Bill Neville who was his assistant who ran the practices in San Diego. Our practices were the greatest volleyball practices I've ever experienced.
Really?
And they were really, really good.
How was
At
it?
times they could be really, really bad too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Like we went to the Pan Am Games in Mexico City, and they decided that it's at elevation and we should do some track work and do some training. Oh, so they decided we should run 220s or 440s, carrying one of our teammates on our backs. And I got Mike Blanchard, who was thick as a malt, and about squished me halfway through my leg. But we had this trip. One of our first. This probably was the first road trip that we went to Japan, and it was brutal schedule. It was 9 matches in 12 days or whatever it was. And the last day, we had off. And the whole 12 days, we're just thinking, we're going to be in Tokyo. I mean, this sounds silly, but they had mini components, like little Walkmans and little stereos that were that was our technological craze.
Right.
We had studied the subways to the Shinjuku district, where we're going to get all this electronics, and we were all jacked up, and we all had 2 nickels to squeeze between us, but we were gonna spend it and get our mini components and our stereos, and the night before, the last night of the thing, and the next day we were going to go shopping, our coaches decided it would be a good thing for us to do is take a 3-hour bullet train to Hiroshima, to the memorial, to pay our respects, or to learn about. So you can imagine,
what you had in mind.
15, 6'9" white guys in USA sweats, walking around, the Hiroshima.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the most
that is bizarre.
Brutal day. It was the worst day. I mean, you just felt horrible. I mean, forget the 6 hours on a train.
Right.
Before you're going to take a 15-hour flight home. But
yeah,
I mean, it was that was just. I think that was part of their, Jose Loyola. You got to break them to they did stuff like that all the time. And like Doug cutting guys and molding the team, I get, but some of the other stuff is just silly.
Yeah.
But coaches do that. I think coaches do that.
Right.
Because they want to test you or for whatever reasons. So.
Yeah. I feel like especially back then too, I feel like that was kind of an era where more coaches did that. I mean, now if a coach makes a kid run 2 suicides, it's like a lawsuit for.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There was a lot more leeway in those days, in the early 80s.
Weird, yeah.
For sure.
I remember growing up and it was even way worse back then.
Yeah.
Where you're like, you run till you throw up. Like, that's when you're gonna stop.
Yeah.
But like you don't hear about that anymore at all.
No.
And that was only.
That's just abuse.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Seems like it.
Well, the bar is so low, especially I think in collegiate athletics. I think most, suits, most of the athletic directors, they don't care about wins and losses. They just don't want a scandal.
Yeah.
I mean, when you do broadcasting and you study coaches' records and you see coaches that have been coaching at a place for 25 years and they've never made it past they've been to 4 NCAA tournaments and made it to the Sweet 16 once, and they're in their 26th year,
Right.
And you're like, what? How?
Right.
And it's because their kids go to class, they graduate, they don't have scandals, and that's unfortunately is the byproduct of lawsuits and frivolous and stupid stuff that now everybody would rather not work till you puke than be sued.
Right.
Whereas working till you puke breeds champions.
Results.
Right.
Yeah.
So all of us have stories of coaches that we hated, that were brutal to us. But they're also the coaches you love and are the most thankful that were in your life.
Totally.
Yeah.
Later on.
Coaches in retrospect.
Yeah.
I hated you, but probably wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for those lessons, right?
Absolutely.
So you were off the national team. You said 81, 82. And then so you were Italy, and then would come back and
play on the
beach. And did you immediately start up with Hav?
Yeah.
In 80? Okay.
Yeah, we started on the national team. Sinjin was playing with Karch at the time.
Okay.
And they just needed someone to practice with, so let's go. And we were doing pretty good against them, and so we started playing in tournaments, and I think won one tournament in 81 and then won 3 or 4 in 82 and
just kind of went from there.
Yeah.
What was the transition like going from indoors to beach, like where you have all this structure? I mean, it's something
It was glorious.
Yeah, right. Right, but like how
it was like going from hell to heaven.
Right, yeah.
It was an instant catapult straight up into the clouds.
Right.
Yeah, the freedom. The biggest thing was physically, because you'd show up after a year of indoor, where you're the main guy on your team. You got to carry the load, get most of the set, do a lot of work, and you're just
Toast.
Pulverized. And within a week of playing beach, all of those aches and pains, the sand is just a glorious instrument of God. Yeah. It is so good for your body.
Yeah.
And you could feel it. And so, once you got, it was great. It was easy. I've never gotten this. Oh, I can't. I have regionals for my club volleyball team. I can't play beach volleyball, this week. It's going to screw up my timing. I'm like,
people say that?
I all the time.
That's how. Yeah.
All the time, and I'm like, like I said, we trained 4 hours indoor and played 5 hours at beach.
Yeah.
And it's
I don't
different.
know how you do that, but
it was
that's
fun.
Crazy.
It was fun.
I wish I did that actually. I actually think about it a lot. Like I feel like I should be training more. We practice and lift a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you know the schedule. Like nowadays, at least, it's not like it used to be where you go and just show up and just
play all day.
Play. We're like doing specific drills and we got coaches and all that. What's kind of your thought on how much the actual amount of hours you're spending practicing has gone down? I don't really understand why we do it or don't.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that life has necessitated, seems like there was more time in our era. No one was in a hurry to go do something or whatever. We were just down there playing volleyball because we loved to. And
well, you didn't have the training room either, and I feel like we have all these other small things that are filling our schedule, which are still productive.
Yeah.
But I do think a lot of our actual just time on the sand competing has been taken away and replaced. I
think there are some definite just maybe if there's a detriment, because I would never begrudge today's athletes and how they train or what they do. I think there is an element of instinct and just awareness of environment and little things that I think you miss when you're not playing at 6:30 at night and it's starting to get dark and you've been playing for 6 hours and you're just out there moving, and just feeling it. There's some kind of a little bit of a disconnect there compared to the regimens of the training of today, but the regimens of training today bears a lot of fruit, I don't prescribe to the old school Facebook page, of these guys are crap and the old guys are the great. I think I truly believe that when you grow up and how you train and what you learned, I think if I were 21 years old, I'd be battling you straight to your face. And if you were born in my era, you would have been battling me, and Phil would have been battling me. And anybody in any era, if you're an athlete and you have some mental toughness and you can ball, you can ball. And I don't prescribe to one is better than the other, or one is this or one is that. I leave that to the politicians, I guess, or whatever. But I just as a player and as a coach, I think the coaching really helped me to appreciate this era and what we're doing now. And I think it would be nice if there was a happy blend.
Right.
If I were like the czar of USA Volleyball, I would mandate that my 8 best guys just go down.
Together.
And go down, and I spend 5 hours in the afternoon when it's windy and shitty, and it's not little morning, 9 a.m. perfect, no wind, no nothing.
We rake the court
and
for you.
and draw your lines and switch partners and see who's the fucking best.
I like that.
See who's the fucking best.
Yeah.
Keep score.
King of the court.
Keep track. It's an easy pick. I think I dropped the F-bomb, and I apologize for that.
It's all good.
But it's an easy. It's not rocket science.
Right. Yeah.
And in our time we had a flourishing tour with 30 tournaments.
Yeah.
It was just like the jungle. It was natural selection.
Yeah.
Smith and Stokey, they're winning. They're great.
Right.
Dodd and Hovland, they're, Dodd and Whitmarsh, this team and that team. You migrated to each other, and you did it by survival, because you had the best chance of winning. Everybody, there was money in this, but everybody just wanted to win.
Right.
In the end of the day, it's how many opens did you win? It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. So, anyway, I would do that, because I would do both. I would, especially in the off season. I'd do your drills with your coaches. Watch film if you want to. Do some weight training, and then in the afternoon, go just hang at the beach. Play, argue,
I feel like that
fight,
part of it.
Mix it up, mix teams. If you win, you get to stay on the court. Who wants to really stay on the court?
Right.
See, and then that's a nice blend, and then you're getting more wind games. You're getting. I definitely don't think players play enough in the wind.
Right.
When it's because
For sure.
most guys that I know train in the mornings, and they train hard and they do great. But you gotta mix it up and train in the afternoon and get through those nasty. Learn those winds. Just
a good point.
Be like a sailor. You gotta know. You gotta feel it on your neck. You don't need flags. You don't need anything. If you've played enough, if your soul is in this game, you feel wind on your skin.
Totally.
You know that you can't hit this shot with this wind blowing in that direction. So you've got to chop it back.
Right.
Even if they know that the odds are better that you chop it back, you still got to chop it back, because it's a better chance maybe not to win the rally on that one, but to set it up for the next one.
Right. Yeah.
So
Totally.
any shot that's dug or that your opponent has picked up is a better opportunity for you than an out hit,
Net bounce.
than a dink in the net,
Totally.
or a hit out. And
Makes sense too,
that's
because all the biggest matches are played in the afternoons. The finals are played in the afternoon, semifinals in the afternoon. That's when the weather conditions get a little hairy sometimes.
Yeah.
We definitely play in it a lot overseas, I feel like.
Yeah.
Well, it's random, I guess, but
Oh, the stuff you guys play in, it's. I am
never know.
amazed. I'm amazed at how good the volleyball is. Up in Stad and in different places. And,
How often do you get out on the FIVB?
well, never now.
Okay.
But I mean, I did it for 10 years, so I was there in everywhere.
Yeah.
Even
You've seen the World Tour go from not being anything to like an incredible volleyball tour. Has it been kind of fun for you to watch like the rest of the world, like Norway, produce an amazing team?
Yeah, it's fun to watch Norway, and it's fun to watch great players. I wouldn't say that it was fun coaching on their tour with their rules and their systems, when coaches would show up at airports and players would hop on a bus and there'd be 30 seats on the bus and they wouldn't let the coaches on the bus.
Yeah.
And you have to take a $200 cab and you're getting no money. And there was a lot. I mean, I'm a bitter guy. I put a lot of years and a lot of time and effort into something that I thought was going to change for the better for coaches, and it never did, and I don't think it has. I don't know. I mean, I know there's some funding from the federations and this and that, but as far as you know, you could train your guys and you could have a game plan, but as far as actual coaching, I never coached.
Yeah, there's still not
I
like
never
box or
I
anything.
never got to coach.
Yeah.
And why our universities are kind of adhering to FIVB style of well, you can say something when you're walking from one side of the court. These coaches should be able to talk. Should be right on the sidelines, just like indoor.
Yeah.
Right.
Here's the wind. Wind's just picked up. Go over to that corner. Serve there. You should be able to do that.
Yeah.
How are these? What?
That's the
you
best
got
way
these
to get
youth
the kids
tournaments,
to
you
learn.
know, and like, he's coaching. The parents coaching. The parents should be. Everybody should. It should be as much info as you know the kids can handle, or you know, maybe the parental thing might not be a good example, but I think coaches should be allowed to coach kids. Kids, why?
And professionals.
I mean, and I'm old school, and I loved coaching myself and figuring it out, but it wasn't easy. Right. I wouldn't have minded, you know. I mean, my dad would try to tell me to serve Stoklos more than Smith, and I should have listened a little more to him. But you know, so I just don't get it.
Yeah,
you know, I don't get that aspect, especially with the youth. Why?
What is the rationale behind it? Like,
it's
not fair for the team that doesn't have a coach. Maybe these small countries, because there is talk right now. Like, I've heard of some of the coaches grumbling, which I'm sure has happened over the years. Of they want to like get everyone together and take a ballot or something, and like figure out or take a voting of who thinks that we should have coaches be allowed to coach, or at least be on the sand.
I think the rationale that I've heard is that it no longer becomes like the players against the players, because now you're introducing another element.
So the Patriots are unfair because they have Belichick.
Yeah,
I would argue that at least in the FIVB, it's one reason and one reason only: money.
Yeah.
You make coaches part of the game, okay, all of a sudden you got to provide them some transportation. You got to provide, promoters don't want to spend one more nickel than they have to.
Right.
And that's the bottom line. It's cheaper.
Yeah.
It's cheaper to treat the coaches like volleyball poles.
I look
like
at it
part
like
of the equipment.
You're creating new jobs, and like another job for someone to like really get into our sport and like study it and raise the bar of our sport. You know?
Sure.
The more people we have making a living in our sport, the better our sport's going to be, right?
Absolutely.
I think. And obviously the quality's going to go up. So like, what's the problem here?
Yeah.
But I guess make money, but who knows?
I don't mean to turn this thing into a downer, but
no, it's all good.
I you know, it was tough. I always, the whole time I was coaching, I thought it was an investment, you know, that in the future there would be coaching, and that we would be at least recognized as part of the game, and maybe even an integral part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it just, you know, I'm still optimistic, but, you know, I just couldn't take the hurt anymore at a certain point. So.
Right.
Yeah. Did you have anyone help coaching you on the beach? I mean, obviously you had, you know, Doug Beale on the indoor staff, and then your indoor coaches in Italy. But did you guys have anyone?
I'm gonna get the dog. I don't know what that noise. What he's doing.
Still recording now?
Proceed. Yeah.
Okay. But did you have anyone kind of teaching you on the beach at all?
I sure did. Not later on, certainly, but as a kid, I grew up at a place in Manhattan called Marine Street.
Okay.
And there were a lot of really good players and old-time volleyball people. There was a guy named Walt Schiller, who was a great setter. He played with Gene Selznick in the U.S. national teams, and he was a great beach player. Mm-hmm. and he cleaned pools for a living. He was just a simple guy, and he was down at the beach every day, and he'd talk to me about passing and serving and shots and wind, and he was a great teacher.
Yeah.
There was a really good AAA player named John Gonzalez.
Okay.
He played with Mitch Malpe, and he asked me to play with him one day. And I was on the line, and he took most of the balls, but it was the thrill of a lifetime, and when you don't have as much coaching, you watch, you learn, and the same thing, like with we didn't look at a lot of film, but I had a book in my brain.
Yeah.
Of guys. I knew when the pressure was on. I knew when the sets were inside or outside or this or that. I didn't know. You never know, but you anticipate, and you have. I had a book on all the best players for sure. Because you watch. You don't have film. We're not filming, and we're not going back and looking. So in warm-ups, I'd watch. If I hadn't played, I was playing some guys, I just watch what they do in warm-ups.
Yeah.
Because even in warm-ups, guys give something away.
Totally.
If you're eyeballing it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. So.
Who was one of the toughest guys to read or anticipate or just dig a ball against?
My two toughest were Sinjin and Kent Steffes.
I was going to ask about Kent.
They both saw the court really well. They just had that gift of I couldn't look, like I take my eye off the ball
right.
as it's nearing the point of contact, and they could kind of look at you until the very last second, and they were really hard to read, and they mixed it up well, and they were tough.
Yeah. Has there been a player like comparable to Kent? Because I feel like when you look at his ratio of tournaments won to played, it's crazy.
I would say maybe Emmanuel was as close as I've seen to a guy that was like Kent, but I don't think he was as good as Kent. Because I played him in his maybe not his absolute prime, but he was 22, 23, 24, and I was playing him, and Kent was 25, 26 at the same time, and Kent was a better player.
Yeah. Wow. And that was, I feel like Kent was like peaking at such a tough time, because like around that 96, 97 era when like the AVP started to get into a little financial trouble.
Yeah.
That was probably some pretty volatile times for you guys. Oh,
yeah. That was where Kent kind of shot himself in the, in the foot as far as being a supportive AVP person and a player. He wasn't phony at all. He was about the money. He trained hard, he worked hard, and so he deserved the money. He won, he wants the money.
Right.
Pre-tournament work, promotions, no. No. Go out with the fans? No. Mm-hmm. No. I'm focused. I'm trained.
Yeah.
I want my money. And then, at a certain point you have to, okay, this thing's struggling. What can we all do?
Right.
And he wasn't on the what can we all do boat.
Right.
He was on the sue you boat, sued Karch, guy who won a gold medal with, because Karch was on the board during the time when things started going sideways, and sued everybody and just left volleyball. And he could have made a lot more money, because even though there were some dark years of AVP, the FIVB, that's when they were just starting to grow, and he was one of the best players in the world. And again, it's time heals a lot of wounds, but there were times when a lot of guys were really not happy with Kent and the way he kind of, he wasn't, I mean, like Sinjin and Randy and Tim and I, we were, like whatever, the early guys, and we were the top teams, but we had a mutual respect, and we were driven to grow the game, to help the AVP, and we went to the diviest bars in the middle of nowhere in Wisconsin, that had some dirt court in the back, and we play games with people. We're the best players in the world.
Right.
Right. You don't see Michael Jordan or any, but we knew that we needed to do this, and because we were nothing, we were below nothing, we were like pond scum, in the sport world.
Right.
But we worked together, and we accomplished a lot. We built
for sure
a pretty darn good brand at the end, and like any company, you hire the right guy and your company goes like this. You hire the wrong guy, and it goes the other way. And at a really critical point, we didn't hire the right guy, and happens.
Yeah, and I feel like
it's sad. It's more sad for all you guys, for everybody. That you should not be playing 8 tournaments.
Right.
We should be playing more.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy. It's not an easy business, and I don't know if anybody knows the right model.
Right.
I thought our model was pretty good. It was get as many eyeballs, for the sponsors, and do whatever the sponsors wanted.
Right.
We didn't kid ourselves. We were a young adult promotion. We were a way for beer companies to sell beer, and sun lotion companies to sell sun lotion.
Yeah.
And whatever we could do to help, we were all in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, you see it happen with, companies, even volleyball clothing companies that are crushing it with T-shirts and hats and shorts and board shorts. And then all of a sudden they're thinking, well, now we're going to make leather jackets and go into this. You go away from what you're good at or what you do, it just never works. And we got so far away, trying to be like golf, trying to be like tennis.
Yeah.
Instead of just being what we were.
Right.
We were a party.
Party sport, yeah.
We were a party. We were a traveling party. We had world-class athletes. We had the best volleyball players in the world.
Right.
And
well.
we had the best contract with Miller Lite. They owned us, lock, stock, and barrel. But you know what? They paid every bill.
Yeah.
You need more security? Boom. Send an invoice to Milwaukee. You need another little side bleacher? Boom. Send an invoice to Milwaukee. They paid. And you know what? It was a bargain. We turned their light beer, their stuffy, silly little light beer, into the number one beer brand, low-calorie beer in the country. Because they're like, okay, well, what do we want to do? Do we want to spend $10 million for a sticker on a Formula One race car?
Right.
Or do we want to own a sport?
Yeah.
And I think that's how we should be selling it.
Right.
I really thought Nivea was I don't know if you guys.
I remember it. Yeah.
Nivea was there, and it was right before another one of the AVP collapses.
Right before.
But
Crocs,
they're a powerhouse. They're gigantic.
Right.
And they were just starting to get their sun products approved in the United States.
How'd that go south?
Well, the tour folded in the middle of a 2-year deal that they had paid a bunch of money, and it was a horrible thing because we had a bunch of guys trying to save the tour, but we had the owner of the tour trying to sell it, and it was just a horrible thing. In retrospect, if someone would have just gone to Nivea and just said, just own it. Just buy this thing. Just own it outright. Use it as your sun product vehicle
right.
to the stars.
Right.
And just if you could have gotten a deal like that, you know, you need a mothership.
Right.
You can't do these.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe, you know, the Donald's dad's company could be the mothership.
Yeah, right.
Maybe we've got a mothership in the dock.
He's on a good trajectory right now.
Yeah.
Like every year it is getting significantly better, and I think his model was like he's seen the past tours like fail from relying on certain sponsorships. So he's like, I'm not going to rely on sponsors anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to have that as supplemental income, right? But create my own foundation through the AVP Next and whatever it is. I don't know all the business side behind it, but I mean, I guess it seems like a pretty good model.
To me, I really honestly think the mothership or the savior of beach volleyball is the live feeds.
Yeah. Amazon.
The live feeds.
Oh, totally.
That is what is gonna.
It's amazing.
It's gonna catapult it because people volleyball people love to watch volleyball. They can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
And who's not gonna pay $11 or $15 or whatever it is?
It's not on your computer.
And it's not that hard to get 1 million people to do it. And all of a sudden, do the numbers.
Yeah.
You get 1 million. What if you get worldwide? You get 10 million people.
Yeah,
paying $15.
The Amazon AVP tour.
Why not?
That would be game over.
You know, it's dropping.
I mean, that's a speck on their jacket.
Oh, for sure.
But to me, that's.
He probably doesn't even know that they stream the AVP. I bet he doesn't.
It's possible.
He's too busy figuring out how he can deliver everything else that everyone orders on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But it's there. People love the game.
Yeah,
there's this.
That's true.
This thing, that thing has never changed.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was at that, you know, golden year, whatever you want to call it, it can get back there. Yeah. I truly believe that.
What are your thoughts on the Olympics, just in general? Like going there as an athlete, as a fan, like what it's done for our sport, this mystical thing that I've been chasing for 7 years now?
Yeah.
Almost 8, yeah. Just because, I mean, it kind of changed our sport, and it says a lot to like what you were just saying in terms of our sport's entertaining. Because when you go to the Olympics, that's like one of the hottest seats, right?
Yep. Yeah. Well, I think I think that's kind of a double-edged sword, at least historically speaking. Mm-hmm. I don't see the Olympics. I don't see the fruit of the Olympics in our tours, in our volleyball.
Yeah.
It was a long time in Atlanta in '96. That's almost 24 years now. Or
it seems like it's one big thing that like 2 people can get, or like 4 people. Let's say whoever gets to go, you get that title. Uh-huh. But the rest of our sport, it kind of just drains it.
Yeah.
For the other 4 years.
Yeah.
Because the World Tour has us by the balls, and it can ruin our domestic tour by making us chase this Olympic thing around the world. Which
they've played like a Stradivarius for the last 2 decades.
Beautifully. I haven't even played AVP.
But, I don't think that golden, that thing that everyone says, the Olympics is just going to catapult our sport. Business-wise and as a tour on a 4-year basis, I don't think it's done that at all. If anything, I think it's hurt our tour in many ways.
It's catapulted a few players, maybe.
Yeah,
right?
Well, obviously,
yes.
Carrie and Misty and the very successful ones have benefited greatly from the Olympics, and God bless them. They deserve it. They performed. I've never felt any pressure like the pressure I felt in the Olympics. And it was an athletic experience like no other. And keep fighting for it. It's worth it. Yeah. It's totally worth it. Mm-hmm. It's a surreal, glorious, as corrupt and crappy as parts of it are,
Yeah.
As an athlete and as someone that strives to be great and wants to see how great you can be on the greatest stage, there's nothing like it.
Right.
There's nothing like it. With that said, I don't think someone in Switzerland that only cares about, the Olympics and their is going to help us to get where we need our domestic tour to go.
Right.
We need to do that.
Yeah.
Us Americans, us guys here. And that might mean at some point, changing a few rules or doing things differently.
Yeah.
It never not worked for us in the past.
Totally. I'd be on board.
So I as an athlete, and I think the Olympics are one of the coolest things ever.
Right.
As far as, any notion that the Olympics has helped our domestic tour at all since we became an Olympic sport, I think the complete contrary.
Right.
It has not.
Totally.
And I think it's wasted effort and thought to think that is what's gonna get our tour back to glory,
right.
Get us back to 30 events and tens of millions of dollars of prize money. It's gonna be shrewd, smart, good hiring people that are playing a long game, and hopefully that's what Donald's doing.
Right. The one thing that they're doing that it sucks for like someone like me who is chasing that Olympic thing is that they're kind of saying, if you don't play, you don't play. Like, not that they don't care if we don't show up, but they're not gonna like cater to people, to us showing up. It's like, if you're going for this Olympic thing, then go do that, and we're gonna run this tour whether the top teams are here or not.
Right.
And to me, I'm like, I feel like as obviously I'm very biased because I really want to play on this domestic tour, and I've missed probably like 75% of the events over the last few years, partially because injury or illness, whatever. But I've only played 2 events in 2016 too, and we made finals in them. But I just think they've been so frustrated, domestic tour, with the whole Olympic thing. They've just given up on it in a lot of ways. Like, whatever. World Tour doesn't care about us. Olympics hurts us. We're just going to make a product. Whereas I still think we need the top players. And, like, there's got to be a way to get us on board with that. The other tricky thing is we have USA Volleyball, who caters to the World Tour and not the domestic tour. Because they're getting funded by the USOC, which is Olympics, blah, blah, blah. So...
yeah, it's a dysfunctional family.
Yeah, you know all about it. But I don't see I feel like there would have to be a huge change made. Someone would have to step up, get everyone together, and agree, at least the majority of some players or whatever it is, to actually make that change. But I think there's too much wasted value here.
Yeah.
And you saw,
I mean, if I may be so bold, I would think that the true answer comes in building the best domestic tour that everybody wants to play in, and
including international.
And we're a federation, okay? As long as we send enough great teams to enough tournaments that qualify 2 teams,
right?
Let's build our domestic tour and not let another tour suck the life out of our best players because they're torn.
Yeah.
And let's, I don't know if it's, like I said, a czar that just gets the top players and just puts them on a court and says, okay, let's see who's the best. Let's see what's the best team. Or whether it's an Olympic trials. What if we had a 30 event, $10 million tour that every best player just played on that, and maybe one team, and there was some czar at USA Volleyball that says, okay, try, you and your guy, you're going to go to these 6 events this year and these 5 events next year,
you get a bonus
and you get that's your 8 best finishes, but it doesn't matter because we're going to have a big trials, and hopefully two of our teams will secure a spot in the Olympics, and then we'll have a big showdown, a big hoedown. We'll have a freaking $1 million tournament qualifier for the Olympics.
Big money.
Because I played in the only Olympic qualifier.
Oh
yeah.
All right? And that's, if you don't think that prepares you for the Olympics, you're freaking out of your mind.
That's true.
And if the very, very best players don't like it because there might be something that goes wrong, and that's what's been the problem in a way too, you know,
I get that.
No, we can't do that. What if I tweak my foot on the, you know, hey.
Well, we could make it a series. We have the AVP Gold Series, right?
It could be the Olympic qualifying series. It was talked about in '96.
Yeah, of course.
It's golden. Our series.
Yeah.
Let's pick our. Let's don't have these schmucks pick our players.
Then we can go on the world tour, trying to qualify these spots as a team.
Yeah.
Somewhat, and we're not enemy number 1, because all I think about when I go on the world tour is beat the U.S.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
How does that make us better? What if we were all working together to go beat the world?
Yeah.
Get our 2 spots.
Isn't that go get our 2 spots? If you go earn us the 2 spots, maybe you get a bonus or something, right? You don't get the spots, but you get a bonus, and you get a shot at the spots.
Yeah.
Or something.
Just solving the world's problems.
Oh, we figured it out, guys. We'll submit this to, I don't know who. Jamie Davis.
I guess, someone at USA. Sean?
Yeah. Oh, man. Who knows?
Right now it's a dream, but it's possible.
It is.
We should have just a kick-ass tour.
Yeah.
And it's there. Somebody wants us, needs us, Amazon. Yeah. They might not need us, but we could be, you know. We may not be easy, but we can be had, right?
Yeah.
I still go back on YouTube. There's some matches up from the '96 Olympic trials. They're some pretty fun matches to watch.
Yeah, they were crazy. We played good, thank God. Well, the gnarliest thing was we had a qualifier to get into the trials.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. With 16 teams the day before. And Whitmarsh and I lost the first round to Ricky Ludis and Frohoff, and we had to come all the way back through the losers. And at the very end of the day, we got the last spot to get.
And then you guys played really well in the.
We played really
right?
well, yeah.
You guys.
I never got an open win for that, but I thought I deserved it.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Because we took down Karch and Kent, and then we took down Stokey and Johnson.
Yeah. Well, I feel like Randy Stokos is probably the reason that people point to of why a trial is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Landing on the ball, spraining his ankle. That's tough.
That was tough.
But I do like that idea of like the Gold Series.
There's going to be some of that, you know, like someone's going to get screwed.
Well, if you have a series, it eliminates a lot of that, you know.
You could even drop one.
But the series won't create the kind of pressure that a do or die 1 day trial does.
The pressure.
I mean,
Olympics.
that's right on the Olympic line of pressure.
True. Yeah.
Which is what we need. We need more of that.
Totally.
Yeah.
How are we time-wise?
Yeah, we've kept you here for a while.
4.
I don't want to keep you too long.
No, I'm still good. I got a few more minutes.
Okay.
I don't know if I have any stories left, but I have.
We do have one question that we do like to ask every guest at the end of the show. And that is, if you had to give one piece of advice to an up-and-coming beach volleyball player, what would that piece of advice be?
You know, in kind of reflecting on kind of some of the stuff we were talking about, I would advise them, you know, to get as much coaching and good drills and good work as you can. but don't forget the heart and soul of the game, which is also just going out after you've done your morning work and just going out and playing playing for fun, playing 4-man, playing whatever, because there is a I don't know if it's subliminal or there is a benefit in, I believe, the soul of beach players. Because even like, just anything. I'll tell you one story, because my brothers and I, we had this little, we'd set up a string and we'd play these games, just dink, dink. And one year I coached the Italian national team. And we're going to train in the United States. We got this sweet house on a walk street in Manhattan Beach. And the Italian Federation paid for these 8 guys to come and train. So it was kind of the scenario that I spoke of when I trained these guys, because it was 8 guys and I mixed it up every day and I kept. But the one thing is, one night I just went over to the house, because they were in this house, 8 guys, and they cooked really well and they made dinners and they went to Costco and I made them go to night school and learn English. Oh, but one night because I would come in, I would go there and check on them every once in a while. Yeah. And I come in one night and I see Daniel Lupo and Paolo Nicolai had a string across their room, and they were just playing this dink game and doing all these, just like I did as a kid. And I had the quantifiable numbers that told me that they were going to be my best team. But that, just seeing them do that string thing, I said that is going to be the best Italian team, because they just had the love. They had that thing. Yeah. So
sure enough,
still are the
year
best team.
A year or two later,
they knocked off Phil, and
yeah.
then 4 years later they got the silver medal.
Yep.
In Rio. So, but yeah, silly little stuff like that.
Totally.
So don't, train and avail yourself to everything. If you're, that good of a player, avail yourself to everything USA Volleyball can give you and all the other, but don't forget about the soul.
Right.
Don't forget the soul.
That's something I talk about. I'm like, I gotta remember to go play for fun and like play in these outrigger tournaments when I go home and like that stuff.
Absolutely.
Like, this guy goes out and does like standing whatever. I don't know what you guys do out there.
Sunset shots.
Yeah, sunset shots or whatever. And I went out there once or twice. It's like, I got to remember to go play for this reason, because you get so like, you're tense sometimes, when you're training with a purpose and like all this, drills and whatnot.
Don't forget the what started it all. And look at me, 62, play like a banshee. Mm-hmm. Because it's a sport you can enjoy your whole life, right. And it's social and it's fun and there's such great camaraderie with people just scrapping for survival.
I think
it's what's great about it.
Someone who's doing really well right now is Taylor Crabb.
And
that kid's out there all the time.
Like, he's a rat. He's a beach rat.
He'd rather not lift and just be like, I played, so that's just as good, if not better.
Yeah.
And I think it definitely works for him. He's total beach rat. I'm a beach rat, but when I go to the beach, I don't play volleyball. I go in the water, which I can't really stop that. But I think I do need to get more reps in that sense. Yeah, the fun reps.
It's not going to hurt. That's one thing I would say for sure.
Unless you get hurt.
It's good for your soul.
Yeah, for sure.
Mike, thank you tons.
Thanks for having
me.
Man, it was great. It's a blast.
So good. Cool. We had the whole fam on now.
I know. Well,
we'll see who's next.
Could be Dusty.
Dusty, yeah. There we go.
Thanks,
Remember
guys.
that name.
Have a great one, Mike.
Good luck, try.
Shoots. Thank you.